Dann reden wir mal mit ihr, würde ich sagen. The Waxworks. Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Tusspace? I did. I am the third generation of waxwork artisans, you know? Gosh. It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were checkered, living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution, as she did. Entschuldigung, ich muss mir mal kurz die Nase putzen. As she did. Though that is when she acquired the savior fair that leads to this astonishing likeliness. Und ich habe jetzt nicht aufgepasst. Okay, sie hat alles alleine gemacht, sie ist dritte Generation und die Großmutter hat das gemacht. Her fortunes were checkered, living through the turbulent time of the French Revolution as she did. Though that is when she acquired the savior fair that leads to the astonishing lifelikeliness. All these waxworks really do look as though they are alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people on which they are modeled. In the hours immediately following the executions. That is a secret to the extraordinary lifelikeliness. Okay. Also nachdem sie exekutiert wurden, wurden die gleichen Modelle verwandelt oder wurden Modelle von denen gemacht, eher gesagt. That sounds terrifying. All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see. Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying? Do not fear. Sorry? This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians. Something for every taste, I hope. It was Iris who dragged me straight in here, come to think of it. Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things. Oh man. Such macabre theme, okay. Okay. The Great Detective Waxwork. What's the situation with that? My temporary waxwork model. He approached me some days ago, you see? With a business proposal. Oh, what sort of proposal? My dear madam. Or madame. What these sparse exhibits, need is the addition of a world-famous great detective. Or words to that effect. Naturally, I am well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective. It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it. Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms. Let me guess. Someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services. For a mere £500, I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment. Or words to that effect. Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch. Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment, due to unforeseen circumstances. Aber warum? Sholmes hat auch vorher die Pfandleierei benutzt. Okay, da ist jetzt nicht mehr derselbe Besitzer, aber die wird es ja noch wohl irgendwie geben. Da wird es doch wohl irgendwen geben, der die Pfandleierei wieder übernommen hat. Oder eine andere Pfandleierei. Damit hat er doch vorher seine Miete bezahlt. Oder habe ich da was falsch verstanden? Okay. Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment, due to unforeseen circumstances. So we came to the current arrangement instead. Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing though, does he? I would think not, but he was very insistent. I have a 50 shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning. Or words to that effect. It's a pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem. Oh, okay. Also hat das da, aber will was wieder abholen. Is the consulting detective work not going so well? Something afoot. I wonder, could I ask you something? Bien sûr. I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps? Okay, da wird sie still. Whoever suggested such a thing to you? Oh, well, it was your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned it to me a little... Oh! He's disappeared! A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade. Ah! There you are! Leaving the exhibition again when you should be working? Do you wish to be melted down? Was ist das denn? Was ist das denn für eine Drohung? My dear madam, to space. Save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our idea about your current problem we must throw into the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police. Why ever not? She's turned as white as a sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective, whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though, please be aware that I prefer... No, I insist upon payment in advance. Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we? Before I engage my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain? That is a to spare special exhibit. There's an extra charge to see it. Hä, warte, was? Okay. Leaving the exhibit. Okay, ich verstehe gerade nichts. Ist es, was ist ihr Problem? Was ist afoot? Was ist im Gange? There is a to spare special exhibit. There's an extra charge to see it. Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a special killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder? Ah, absolutely no. There's nothing amiss behind there. Nothing amiss, madam. What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? Ah! I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond, before the situation worsens. Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only a soupçon. Soupçon. Okay, jetzt bin ich gespannt. Nummer 139? I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The to spare special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however? Okay. Is a portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. Wait. War der nicht mal in der Jury? Der sieht so aus, als ob er mal in der Jury war. Well then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes, that man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's a perfectly ordinary London gentleman. Not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So, allow me to present my two conclusions. The first is that a sizable business transaction has been taking place in the special exhibit. Why? Why would you say that? And the second is that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime. Ah! She looks as pale as candle wax. Come get the dance of deduction? I don't understand. So, Madame Tuspers, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Yes, the great deduction, the game is afoot. Ich hab Bock. Topic 1. Waxworks Fate. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some 200 pounds. That is all my own money. So what does this larger sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance he cast, it would seem, Madame Tuspers. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes are now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by the public note. Waxwork for sale. Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer, the centerpiece of your special exhibit, for the sum of 200 pounds. No! Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Ah! Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your fault. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively. What are you suggesting? He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of 200 pounds. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what an extortionate amount he was paying. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result? The scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer in the special exhibit fetched the killer prize. We can only pray the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. Conclusion? Sold for cash. Okay. Topic 2. Waxwork location. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands. Let us consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. Neckerchief? Was ist neckerchief? Neckerchief? Halstuch. Ah, okay. Such as is worn by a policeman as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman, currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay. What are you talking about? The man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades at last year's policing awards. Okay. Ich glaube, das ist falsch. But next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork. Ah, but you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not the old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. 3 pence? A tragically low price, you might say. Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxworks riddled with quacks. And yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant £200. The sorts of plucky behavior that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madam? I do not... Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. Discovered already. Conclusion. Okay. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Okay. I see I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the notorious Naruhodo 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So, that would mean that he's a particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Ottermole. Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that riddled the capital one only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the ether. And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Ottermole. Okay. So you mean that who the sinister looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed, it is a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that odious countenance only too well. But is £200 a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that puts things in perspective. So, it is quite a lot then. Is there anything else you wish to add? Before I melt you down? That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous. The smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me. Mr. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris, if that's alright. To make some minor corrections to the great detective's great deductions. Of course it's alright. Well, we'll soon set things straight. Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Tussauds whence her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Tussauds, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Topic 1. Waxwork's fate. In conclusion, sold for cash. To begin with, we must ask ourselves, what exactly is a food here in this museum? Kann ich nochmal kurz hervorheben, wie cool diese Sections eigentlich immer sind? Allein die Musik schon. Das ist so richtig... Das passt wie die Faust aufs Auge dazu. Wirklich so, als ob man Schlussfolgerung nach Schlussfolgerung trifft. So. Als ob man wirklich weiterkommt im Leben. So. Versteht ihr? Die passt wirklich 1:1 hierauf. Deswegen mag ich die Section auch so, wegen der Musik und allgemein, weil es cool gemacht ist. Also, to begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is the food here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some 200 pounds. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Tussauds. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that public note. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true. But I'm not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks, even for 200 pounds. Oh, she must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. For that much money, I would. But it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the 200 pounds could have some other significance. Let's follow that further glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it. Kurz Nase putzen. So. So. Was gibt's hier denn noch? Oh, okay. Note on the wall. What's that note doing pinned on the wall there? Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tussauds, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for a safe return is 200 pounds. Oh, wurde sie ausgeraubt? Have the money ready by noon on 23rd October. 23. Oktober, da habe ich YouTube angefangen. What? This is just like the sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped. Yes, it's a ransom note. Exactly. Note on the wall, ransom note.
Take that!
The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness, abducting a waxwork. Ah! 200 pounds is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it. The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have. Oh, das hat sie gesagt, okay. In summary then, the 200 pounds you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Ah! Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your fault. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is? We could just ask him when he comes around. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris. Yes, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard, we mustn't let him down. Well, there's little doubt that he suffered a shock, that much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tussauds trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. Okay. Long hair braids. Was hat sie hier? Das ist das Geld, ja. Warte, was? Warte, was hat sie da? Ist das ein Arm? Hand of Madame. This is just Madame Tussauds right hand, isn't it? Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all. Oh, but wait a minute. Vom Daumen her passt das nicht. This is her left hand as well, look! Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. And it seems very stiff too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean... it's made of wax. Waxwork hand. Okay.
Take that!
What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow. Oh, okay. How could you... The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that in fact it's a left hand. Ah! And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madam. It's the hand of a waxwork model. Yeah! Okay. Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. So you mean that arm? Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir. No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view its blossoms. I am afraid I had to teach the man a lesson. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us, he was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in the special exhibit has been kidnapped. Conclusion. Kidnapped. Topic 2. Waxwork location. Conclusion. Discovered already. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands. Die Musik jetzt auch ist auch geil. Let us consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard, that Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away. Well, uncovering secrets is in any true detective's nature, of course. Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tussauds' reaction to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Who is this fellow? Okay. Oh, es ist der Killer. Shoulder stub. What the... The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be. Ah. Well, that settles that then. Right, this isn't a real person at all. His entire arm's been whipped off from the shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course, that ties in with what we just found out.
Take that!
Shoulder stuff. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his shoulder stuff. No such boneless human walks this earth, of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact, defying our laws, a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes. He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man. Naturally, what other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely and he hasn't moved a muscle, almost in fact, as if he were a waxwork. Ah, but you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. A killer policeman, called Ottermore, was it? Was he well known? It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price though. 3 isn't much money. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrett delightful lodgings, in fact. Nicer callback. So this is a special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? The waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for £200. Is this crusty old killer policeman Ottermole? Really? Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see if another idea crops up. Okay, price tag. Lol. Twitch. Das ist doch keine Wachsfigur. Look at this. The old man's tapping his foot like crazy. He seems to be fast asleep though. He's not tapping his foot consciously then. So you mean... It must be a twitch. Never mind that. The point is, waxworks don't tap that feet. Or twitch. And look at his arm too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Yeah, true. Scarf on the arm.
Take that!
The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Tussauds? Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He is clearly fatigued. He is sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3 pence? No doubt, the price tag of the muffler which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does it not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway. Of course, because as you know, there has been just such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, detective. So, it would seem that we finally arrive at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Und I guess der Typ, der da liegt, ist nicht der Kidnapper, sondern, oder vielleicht schon, aber er hat wollte auf jeden Fall den Arm stehlen, oder die Police-Statue da. Conclusion, still a mystery. Wow. Deduction complete. Elementary.